painting, but I would like, in the next couple of weeks to have a little bit of a celebration.
Do you have given that question before about the Ukraine war, do you have a view on the conflicts that we're involved in at the moment?
Oh, well, I mean, everything needs to go back and assessed on its merit, and I think what the troops are doing over there is amazing. Those people are putting their lives on the line for at least Australian values, if nothing else. So I have the utmost respect for them.
Do you think Tony Abbott spends too much time in his budgie smugglers?
Do I? No, I think Tony's a fit man, and he's a bit of a man's man. And the good thing about Tony is that he is himself, and people respect that. Too many of our politicians get lost in spin. They have a media minder standing next to them telling them what to say. Tony's not that sort of bloke, so good on him.
Will you be campaigning the same way, shirt off?
Well, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'd probably keep it a little bit more respectful if I can, but no.
Keep going. Just chat about anything.
Okay. So your family, where are they? Where are they based?
On Roy's Road, which is in the north of the electorate, and there's strawberry farmers right on the Pumice Stone Passage, which is completely in the electorate.
So you went to school here, you've grown up?
Yeah, well, we have generations of connections. My family were some of the original pioneers in this area. It's just old identities and these sorts of areas.
So your family's quite well known here?
The name is definitely, the family name is, yeah.
Do you live at home with your parents?
No, I haven't lived at home for years because I moved interstate to study, and then I now live in Beachmere over in the electorate.
Do you live in flatmates or you live on your
I live with my partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you where were you studying? Where did you say you were studying?
Well, originally I was in Melbourne studying, and then now I was studying at University of Queensland.
Okay. So were you doing correspondence, or did you move down to Melbourne?
I moved down to Melbourne.
Okay, so how long have you been back living in Beachmere?
Well, in Beachmere, a couple of days. Back here, 1 or 2 years. I don't know. It's all blending together now. Yeah, probably a couple of years.
Okay. So did you put your uni on hold before when you started to get interested in this spot, or when did you put uni on hold?
As soon as I won pre-selection, I deferred to university studies.
Right.
Yeah. As would be appropriate.
Yep.
Wyatt Roy, and why should we all vote for you?
Who's Wyatt Roy? Well, I mean, I'm now the candidate for the LNP as of an hour ago. Basically, what I bring to this job is strong convictions, strong ideals, and a completely fresh, clean and energised approach to federal politics. And importantly, I bring to this job an ability to listen. So I'll be out there listening to the concerns of my local constituents and then taking it back to stand up for them in Canberra, in the community, in the media, and in my party room.
At 19, what qualifies you to represent anybody in federal parliament?
Well, I think what's important is what I bring to the job. And this is, like I said to you, I bring a strong conviction, strong ideals, a completely clean and fresh and energised approach. And I think that's what people are looking for from their politicians, because they certainly haven't had it from my Labor opponent, who has been a state Labor member, is directly responsible for a lot of the state Labor failures in this area, and then he's been a federal member and has done very little since. So I won't be that candidate. I'll be out there standing up for the people.
Do you feel you need some life experience, though? I mean, traditionally, politicians tend to enter the fray a little bit older. Do you have the life experience to bring to this job?
Oh, I think there is tradition in these sorts of things. I think for the Parliament to work effectively, and Andrew Fraser said this the other day, it needs to be reflective of the wider Australian community. You need to have some younger people, you need to have older people, and you need to have much older people. What matters is what I bring to the job.
But again, life experience. How can you answer?
What does constitute life experience? I mean, it's a matter of perception.
Well, working a job, having a family, that type of thing that you would bring to an experienced role.
There's lots of members in the federal parliament that don't have families.
A working life, a background like that.
Oh, well, I told you, I've worked in small business. I've worked in my family farm. I've done these sorts of things. I have the tertiary qualifications for the job. What matters really is what the candidate does, and I think the people in Longman would rather have a candidate that listens to them, that stands up for them, rather than a Labor candidate that's just neglected them.
What is your background? You mentioned earlier, I believe, about growing up in a farming sort of family?
Yeah, well, I grew up, I come from a strawberry farming family locally. My family were some of the original pioneers in this area, and I was part of family small business, and anyone that's been through farming or small business know everyone has to pitch in. So that's my background. I also work for the state the state MP in the electorate, Andrew Powell, and I also work for the university as well.
In a novel situation, have you actually had a chance to vote before this upcoming election?
At a state election, yes. At the last state election.
Haven't been able to vote at a federal election before?
No, this will be my first time voting in a federal election.
And you'll be obviously voting for yourself.
Yeah,
it's a novel situation.
It's just novel. I mean, I'm really not concerned about these things. What I'm concerned about is what the people in Longman think. what their concerns are and doing my job, which is listening to them and being that voice in Canberra, in the media, in the community, and being the voice that they haven't had.
You must expect some criticisms to come, though. You know that there will be, that age will be played up as an issue in this campaign.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can understand it's a legitimate issue out there, and what I say to that is what matters is what I bring to the job. As I said, I bring strong convictions, strong ideals, a completely clean, fresh and energised approach, and an ability to listen. To anyone that has those concerns in my electorate, I will be very available, I will be out in the electorate. I encourage them to come up and have a chat to me about whatever their concerns are. If that's my age, let's have a chat about my age. If it's the hospital, let's have a chat about the hospital, the schools, the local road.
What are the major issues in this area? What's this election going to turn on?
Well, it's interesting because Longman is quite diverse. We have distinct communities around the electorate. But the one issue that I find consistent across the entire electorate is Labor neglect. Now, I'm not about to start mudslinging. I want to make a clear contrast here. Is Labor have neglected this area. They've failed to plan for sustainable development. This is essentially a growth area. We have huge growth coming in here. There's been no sustainable development, no sustainable planning. So I'll be out there standing up for these issues, and I think that's the consistent issue across the electorate.
What is, you mentioned your work history in small business before. Do you mind just running me through what your experience has been to this point in terms of tertiary study and work history?
Oh, well tertiary, I studied politics, international relations, economics, and public policy. In the family business, it was a strawberry farm, so some days I was on the end of the shovel doing the hard yakka. Other days I was doing the finance of the business, doing those sorts of things. So I got a good full gamut of small business and farming. And I also, like I said, work for the state MP, who's Andrew Powell, and I have some experience in dealing with constituents, dealing with everyday concerns.
How long have you worked for Andrew?
Probably 3 or 4 months, something like that, maybe a bit longer. But I'm obviously not working for Andrew anymore. I'm a full-time campaigner, so I've deferred university and I've stopped working, and I'll be out there doing my job. And I think that's what the people of Longman deserve, is someone that can devote themselves full-time to them.
What gives you that political grounding, I suppose? It's not something that most 19-year-olds have the wealth of knowledge, the background, the nous to go into politics. What gives you that background? Surely not
there is a terrible cliche out there of, I go into politics to make a difference, and that cliche gets thrown around far too often, in my view. But that is why I'm here, is to make a difference. And the great thing about the LNP is that I was judged equally. I came through, the local grassroots members of the party made a decision that I was the best candidate to make that difference, to make a difference for the future. And that's my political grounding, is I am here to make a difference.
And I guess what's the long-term future? I mean, your long-term is very long-term. Where do you go from here, ideally?
Well, I mean, I should be ideally I'll be the federal member, and I'll be working very hard as the federal member to stand up for the people in this area.
How winnable is this seat?
Quite winnable. I mean, Tony Abbott, nominated as a must-win seat, and that's certainly the approach we're taking. It's certainly the approach the LNP's taking.
What's the reaction been on the street? You've done some door knocking, some handshaking already. What are people telling you, and what's the reaction?
I find it very positive, because what people are looking for is a candidate that brings energy, that brings an ability to listen, and brings an ability to stand up for them. And they haven't had that from my Labor opponent. So I find the fact that I bring those qualities to this job, people are either willing to give me a fair go or are actually excited about my presence here.
Is it at all daunting, being 19 years of age, trying to step into this arena?
I think, every person who runs for politics signs up to it, and I knew what it would be like when I was signing up to it. So I look forward to the challenge, and I look forward to actually doing my job.
We read the headlines, as you probably did a few weeks ago, Wyatt Roy in hiding as LNP protects their candidate. Were you in hiding? Did you have to be protected from the media? No,
absolutely not, and I found that, anyway, that's just journalism. The reality was, we have a party process. The local grassroots members of the party had their say, and then today the entire party have to have their say. This is the great thing about the LNP compared to the Labor Party. If I was in the Labor Party, we would have had people, party hacks in smoky rooms coming in and appointing candidates, like you've seen I think in Townsville and Whitsundays. In our party, we don't have that. Now, for a party that has given me so much and such a humbling experience, the right thing to do was go through the party process